Is your pantry full? If not, we are going to talk about the top 5 dry foods you need to vacuum seal now. Good morning, everybody. This is Deb from Just Do Something Homestead, and as you know, I love to talk about vacuum sealing. We are in my pantry, and today we're going to be talking about 5 foods that every prepper, saver, stalker needs to put in their pantry. Now, of course, before you make your list, what you want to consider is exactly what your family eats. I've mentioned before that I don't like beans, and even though I stock them, it's not high on my list. Now, if we ever got to the point where I was hungry, you better believe I would be eating these beans. But that leads me to want to put other things on my shelf first. Many of these items you will find on multiple lists. You will find that most people save rice and beans, and well, let's save some rice and beans. That's great if you enjoy rice and beans, but after a year of eating it every day, would you be so excited? I highly doubt it. So what I like to do is have variety. So stick around today as we talk about my top 5 foods, and I'm also going to show you the step-by-step directions on how to vacuum seal. If you are brand new to vacuum sealing, we will also tell you the reasons why vacuum sealing is the rage in the United States. Now, don't judge me harshly. I have been outside for hours planting potatoes, but if you are new to our channel, I want to say welcome so very much. We have a lot of new subscribers, and you will find out we are a family. So why is vacuum sealing all the rage? Well, it's relatively cheap. It's super easy. It keeps insects out of your products. It extends the best by date, and it helps you save money. I'd say that's a lot of reasons why you might want to vacuum seal. All right, let's jump into it. The number one item that I recommend vacuum sealing is pasta. Pasta stores exceptionally well. In fact, this pasta, a lot of it's been here for 5 years. Now, yes, I haven't lived in this house for 5 years. I brought it with me. And not only does it store tremendously well, it is versatile. You can use pasta to change up just about any meal you can think of. Whether you're putting it in a red sauce or an Alfredo sauce, whether you're making macaroni and cheese or 100 other things, pasta is extremely versatile. A half-gallon container of pasta can easily feed 12 or more people. That's because it expands, and when it expands, you're able to feed a whole lot more. And lastly, it is a kid pleaser. Very few children do not like pasta in one way or another. All right, so pasta has hit the top of my list. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is oatmeal. Personally, I love oatmeal, and we eat a lot of it in this house. We like muffins and cookies. I also mix it into my meatballs to make the pound of hamburger go much further. There are so many things you can make with oatmeal. And just like pasta, your oatmeal is going to last for years. Number 3 is a relatively new one I've added to the list. It is dried vegetables. On previous videos, I have showed you how I dehydrated and dried my frozen vegetables. I firmly believe that if anything happens in the United States and all we have is pasta and rice and beans, we're going to need more vegetables and fruit in our diet. Not only is it super easy to dry vegetables, it stores very well. And then to use it, you just sprinkle a handful into any casserole or soup that you are making. And although this container is corn, I have successfully dried corn, beans, peas, and lots of other things from carrots to onions. Number 4 is indeed rice. Rice can't compare to anything else when we're talking about storage rate. It is something that will store for decades. And yes, you can store salt and sugar for decades as well, but it's not going to fill up your belly. Not only can you use rice as a base for soups and stews, you can make desserts such as rice pudding and lots of different foods. One of my absolute kids' favorite foods growing up was porcupine balls. And again, it was because we didn't have a lot of money. So I would stir rice into homemade meatballs and cook them until the rice expanded and stuck out all through the meatballs. Covered it up with spaghetti sauce, put on some cheese, and those were porcupine balls. What they didn't know is it was a very inexpensive food to make. And number 5 is popcorn. For right now, popcorn is still a relatively inexpensive food that you can purchase, and it vacuum seals very easily. You can pop it into a healthy snack, or you can grind it into cornmeal. It is also very easy to grow if you have a home garden. All right, that was a quick rundown of my top 5 dry foods to vacuum seal now. They are pasta, oatmeal, dried vegetables, rice, and popcorn. Next, we're going to focus a little bit on some different vacuum sealers, and then we're going to end by vacuum sealing one of the most challenging foods, and that is flour. I just made a quick run to Walmart to compare the different vacuum sealers on the market. I'm at Walmart looking at the vacuum sealers. M5200, this is the one I have, $214. There's another option. As you can see, it has the port, and that's what you need to vacuum seal in jars. It is $164. These smaller ones, they only vacuum seal in bags. Wow, I have not seen the rechargeable handheld one in a store. $34.98. All right, we are back in my pantry, and I'm going to show you the 2 vacuum sealers that I use almost exclusively. This is my food saver. It is FM5200. I've had it, as I say, I don't know, 11, 12 years, maybe 13 at this point, but it has never given me a false seal. It has never failed me. So I am a huge advocate of this food saver. I also use this little handheld rechargeable food saver. I had purchased it at Ollie's, Ollies, for less than $20. I just saw it today at Walmart. It was about $35. This one I keep in my kitchen most of the time because it's a really quick way to reseal a jar I had already sealed. The next thing you're going to need is canning jars. From itsy bitsy all the way up to half gallon. Any size, any shape, brand new, used from the thrift shop. It doesn't matter. You can vacuum seal in any canning jar. I use a lot of half-gallon jars. These are Ball. They are made in the USA. I hate this. They are now coming out with some made in China, and of course, they are cheaper. I use the half-gallon size more than any other for vacuum sealing. These were at Walmart today, but unfortunately, so were their new straight from China ones. It just is so aggravating. If you can swing it, I would definitely stick with Ball Mason jars. When I compared them really quickly today, I saw that the rings were much shallower. They weren't as long this way. But I'm just a huge fan of Ball. Even if you have to get them from the thrift store, most of my jars, in fact, came from used stores. A few other things you're going to need. These are the jar sealer attachments. That's what goes over the top of your jar when you seal it. You're going to need flats or lids and rings. Lids and rings will come with your jars if you buy a brand new case of them. And with vacuum sealing, you can reuse the lids and the rings over and over again. I will be vacuum sealing flour, so you're going to want a cupcake liner to put across the top. That keeps the flour from being sucked into your vacuum sealer, which will give it a sudden death. So definitely either get some cupcake liners, a piece of paper towel, a coffee filter, anything to provide a barrier between the two. I used to use oxygen absorbers in everything that I vacuum sealed, and then lately I simply stopped using them. The product was still good after 5 and 10 years, and I thought, well, it's redundant. But I've decided to go back because no vacuum sealer removes 100% of the air from the jar. This is just like an insurance policy, so it's going to help keep your product longer. And lastly, I'm going to use my large funnel. When you're doing something powdery like flour, this is a huge help. I got my wide mouth funnel and the flour at Walmart. Walmart is still the cheapest place that I can find organic all-purpose flour. It was $6.97. Most of the grocery stores around here are $9.99 or more. Whew, that was a lot of information, but what we're going to do right now, we are going to vacuum seal flour. Whenever you vacuum seal, you're going to want to wash your jar in hot soapy water and let it dry completely. I just purchased this flour today. Please, oh please, don't stick it in your freezer. When you freeze flour to kill the potential of insects, what you're doing is you're adding moisture to that flour. Vacuum sealing and moisture do not get along. So instead, purchase your flour and immediately vacuum seal it. There is no way insects are going to live in that jar without air. And the first thing you're going to do is fill your jar. And when you think your jar is filled, you want to thump it around. Yes, flour is going to fly up a little. But keep thumping that because that flour is going to remove some of the air that had it down at the bottom, and it's going to shrink down so you can put more in your jar. Not sure it makes a difference? All I did was thump it down on my cement floor actually, and look at that. There's at least 4 inches. It is sunk down. Add some more and keep doing that until you can't fit any more in there. You want to keep about 1 inch. So I aim for this bottom ring. All right, that looks about good. I have it up to the bottom ring. Now I'm going to take a cupcake liner and set it on top. These are all natural paper ones, and I like to spread it out just a little bit because it's too tight at this point. So spread it out so it'll lay in there and cover up the flour. My goodness, that was just about perfect. So it's flat down around it and it's not sticking up. You don't want it sticking over the top. Next, I'm going to lay the oxygen absorber right on top. I don't want it down in my flour, so I want it up on top at the lid. With a clean hand, wipe off any of that flour residue. That's going to prevent it from sealing if you have it covered in crumbs, so wipe it off real good. And place your lid on top. Now, this is a wide mouth jar, so this is a wide mouth lid, and because of that, I need the accessory for wide mouth. It comes in a set of 2. It did not come with my vacuum sealer. It was a separate order. I received both of those from Amazon for about $14. Place it on top of the lid on the top of your jar and push down firmly, just like that, so it snaps on there. I'm going to take my port and plug it in on the top of the jar and push it in so it's in there tight. Then I turn on my vacuum sealer and I push accessory. It will shut off when it is finished. Next, you're going to remove all of this and check the seal. There, did you hear the air come out? And remove the sealer. To check the seal, what you're going to do is look to see that the center has indent. If you push on it, it makes a noise. It's not sealed. But the next thing is to pull with your fingertips on that seal the whole way around the jar. And this one is in fact sealed. Next, I turn to the date on the bag, and it says Best Buy, February 22nd, 2025, and I add 1 year to that date. So my jar is saying organic flour, Best Buy, February 22nd, 2026. But having said that, don't worry that this flour is only going to be good for 2 years. The reality is this flour will probably be good for 2, 3, 4, or more years. I've had flour that has lasted 5 to 10 years longer. The secret is in how you store it. If I simply put this jar in my cupboard in the kitchen, it's going to get too hot and it's going to be exposed to light. That will decrease the quality very quickly. Instead, you want to store this in a cool, dark location. That is the secret to having it last a long time. And the only thing I have left to do is put a ring on it. And I get more and more comments about this every week. Yes, I store them with rings on them. That way, if my jar gets bumped and something happens to that seal, my product is still in the jar. I don't have flour all over my pantry. And yes, I know when I can my apple pie filling, I take the ring off for canned goods. But this is not canned goods. This is vacuum sealing, and thus the ring stays on. This is a really busy time on our farm. We have new chicks, we have rabbits having babies, and most importantly, we have a garden going in. So the next few videos are probably going to be on gardening. One last thing, I almost forgot. 10 days ago, I showed you how to vacuum seal your fresh fruit. These are raspberries. Raspberries never last for 10 days. In fact, they rarely last for 2 days. But look at this. It is near perfect. And if you are getting overwhelmed with everything that needs to be done, I know I am. I have 500 pounds of potatoes I'm trying to plant. I planted 41 today. So just remember, you can't do everything at once, but you can just do something. Have a blessed day, everybody. Bye-bye.